at the center of the ancient world, where Mesopotamia meets the Indus, where the Central Asian steppe falls toward the Persian Gulf. There is a land that most maps draw but few truly see. Iran. 1.6 million square kilometres, larger than France, Germany and Spain combined. Home to 88 million people and a civilization older than nearly anything the Western world remembers. For most of recorded history, this was the centre of everything, the crossroads of empire, trade, and belief. Yet to the modern West, Iran has become a shadow, reduced to headlines and assumptions. Not because there is nothing to see, but because the world stopped looking. Before Rome existed, before Athens raised the Parthenon, the Persians built Persepolis, a ceremonial capital where 23 nations came to pay tribute to the first empire that has stretched from Egypt to India. But the story of Iran did not end with the ancients. This empire collapsed and was reborn again and again, each time wearing a different face: Zoroastrian, Islamic, Safavid, modern. Mount Damavand, the highest peak in the Middle East at 5,610 metres, still stands as it always has, outlasting every empire that rose and fell in its shadow. From the salt shores of Lake Urmia in the northwest to the Lut Desert, where the hottest surface temperature on Earth was recorded, to Hormuz Island, where the soil bleeds red, Iran stretches across every extreme. And beneath the headlines, beneath the politics, a civilization that never truly disappeared remains, waiting to be seen again. Mount Damavand, a dormant volcano capped in permanent snow, rises 5,610 metres above the Iranian plateau, the highest point in the entire Middle East. It is a mountain woven into Persian mythology, the place where the dragon Zahak was said to be chained for eternity. Below it, two great mountain ranges define the shape of the country. The Alborz stretches across the north like a wall, trapping moisture from the Caspian Sea and creating dense forests on one side, arid plateau on the other. The Zagros runs from the northwest to the southeast, a spine of folded rock nearly 1,500 kilometres long, separating the lowland plains from the interior highlands. Together, these ranges create a geography of extremes. Snow-fed rivers carve through alpine valleys in spring. By summer, the same latitude can reach temperatures that crack the earth. In the southeast, the Lut Desert holds a record that no other place on the planet has matched. A surface temperature of 70.7 degrees Celsius, the highest ever measured on Earth. Satellites confirmed it. Nothing grows. Nothing moves. The ground itself radiates heat. A highway cuts through the emptiness, a single line of asphalt stretching to the horizon where mountains shimmer in the haze. Trucks pass in silence. The scale is difficult to comprehend until you are inside it. Iran is not one landscape. It is all of them, pressed into the borders of a single nation. Most maps paint Iran in a single shade of beige, a uniform stretch of desert from border to border. But along the northern slopes of the Alborz, where the mountains catch the rain coming off the Caspian, the country transforms entirely. The Hyrcanian forests here are among the oldest on Earth, a UNESCO-recognised ecosystem that has survived since the last ice age. In autumn, broadleaf trees turn gold and copper, a palette that belongs more to the highlands of Japan than to any image the West holds of Iran. Below the tree line, the Caspian coast flattens into wetlands and rice paddies. Iran grows rice. It farms tea. Fishermen haul sturgeon from the same waters that supplied caviar to Persian kings. Further west, waterfalls cascade through Kermanshah's green gorges, the sound of water filling valleys where the rock has been carved by millennia of rain. And then, at the southern edge of the country, the geology shifts once more. Hormuz Island rises from the Persian Gulf like nothing else on the Iranian map. Its cliffs streaked in red oxide, its beaches stained ochre and crimson. Inside the island's rainbow cave, mineral layers compress millions of years into bands of colour visible to the naked eye. Nearby, the dome-shaped rooms of the Majara residence sit on the sand like objects from another century or another planet altogether. Lake Urmia was once the largest saltwater lake in the Middle East. A body of water that stretched across 5,000 square kilometres between the mountains of Iran's northwest. Flamingos bred along its shores. Its brine supported a unique ecosystem found nowhere else. Today, much of that water is gone. The lake has lost nearly 90% of its volume in the span of a few decades. What remains is a cracked white plain where salt crystallises in the open air. A landscape that looks more like the surface of another world than the bed of a living lake. A solitary figure walks across the salt flats, his reflection dissolving into the mineral crust beneath his feet. The silence is absolute. This is what an environmental collapse looks like when no one is filming for the evening news. A highway bridges what is left of the water, a causeway built across turquoise shallows that grow shallower each year. Cars cross without stopping. The engineering endures. The lake does not. Nearby, the city of Tabriz, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the region, carries on. Its 15th century blue mosque still stands, its turquoise tilework fading but intact, a monument to permanence in a landscape that is learning impermanence. And higher in the volcanic hills, Kandavaan endures. A village carved directly into cone-shaped rock formations over 3,000 years ago, where families still live inside the stone, still draw water, still light fires against the cold. The lake dies, the village lives. Ran holds both truths at once. In the plains of Fars, where the Zagros Mountains give way to open desert, stand the remains of the most ambitious capital, the ancient world ever conceived. Persepolis, built beginning around 515 BC by Darius the Great. This was never a city where people lived. It was a stage, a ceremonial capital designed to receive the known world. Every spring, during the festival of Nowruz, delegations from 23 subject nations would arrive bearing tribute. Greeks carrying bolts of cloth, Ethiopians with ivory, Babylonians leading bulls, Indians presenting gold undum. Each nation was welcomed through the gate of all nations, a doorway that did not conquer, but invited. What Darius built here was not merely an empire of soldiers. It was an empire of administration, of roads, of a postal system that could deliver a message from Sardis to Susa in 7 days. The royal road stretched over 2,700 kilometres. The currency was standardised, laws were codified. This was governance at a scale the Mediterranean would not achieve for another 2 centuries. And at the heart of it all stood the Cyrus Cylinder, a declaration made by Cyrus the Great himself, stating that all peoples under Persian rule were free to worship their own gods, speak their own languages, and follow their own custom. Scholars have called it the first charter of human rights. The West did not invent tolerance. Persia practiced it 2,500 years ago. In 330 BC, Alexander of Macedon burned Persepolis to the ground. Some say it was revenge for the Persian sack of Athens. Others say it was a drunken impulse. Whatever the reason, the fire consumed the cedar roofs and the painted walls. But it could not consume the stone, and it could not consume the idea. "25 centuries later, people still come here. They still stand among the columns. They still look up. A wall of rock, carved with the faces of kings. Naqsh-e-Rostam. 12 kilometres from Persepolis, 4 royal tombs are cut directly into the cliff face. Each one a cruciform facade rising nearly 20 metres above the desert floor. Darius I, Xerxes, Artaxerxes, Darius II. Their names are chiselled into the stone in 3 languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian. Below the tombs, a series of bas-reliefs tell stories that Western history books rarely mention. One panel depicts Shapur I, a Sassanid king, receiving the surrender of the Roman Emperor Valerian in 260 AD. It is the only known instance in all of recorded history where a Roman emperor was captured alive by a foreign power. The scene is carved in stone for anyone to see. Yet in the West, this moment barely exists. Inside Persepolis itself, the walls carry a different kind of record. The Apadana staircase reliefs depict all 23 tributary nations in procession, each delegation rendered with astonishing precision. The Armenians bring horses, the Lydians carry gold bracelets. The Scythians present clothing and weapons. Every garment, every hairstyle, every gift is distinct. These are not symbols, they are portraits. The artisans who carved these reliefs worked without signatures. No names survive, but the skill endures in every line, every fold of cloth, every muscle of every bull and every lion. And then there are the inscriptions, cuneiform, pressed into stone, in a language that fell silent for 2 millennia before scholars learned to read it again. The stone remembers what the living forgot. Isfahan. The Persians called it Nesf-e-Jahan, half the world. Under the Safavid dynasty in the 17th century, Shah Abbas I transformed this city into the capital of an empire and one of the largest cities on earth. At its centre, Naqsh-e-Jahan Square stretched across nearly 9 hectares, a public space so vast it was said to contain half the commerce and beauty of the known world. Overlooking the square stands the Jama Mosque, a structure that is not one building, but many. Construction began in the 8th century under the Abbasids. The Seljuks added their own hall, and the Mongols rebuilt what they had destroyed. The Safavids layered new tilework over old brick. 1,200 years of architecture exist side by side within the same walls, each dynasty building upon the last without erasing it. Inside, the hypostyle hall is a forest of brick columns nearly 1,000 years old. Light enters through small openings in the domed ceiling, shifting across the floor as the sun moves. No electric light is needed. The architects understood the angle of every hour. Across the square, the Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque breaks every convention. There is no courtyard. There are no minarets. There is only the dome, a surface that shifts from cream to pale pink as the light changes through the day. It was built for the private prayer of Shah Abbas, connected to the palace by an underground passage. From the outside, it is modest. From the inside, it is among the most beautiful enclosed spaces ever created by human hands. And above it all, the Ali Kapu Palace rises 6 stories. Its upper chambers carved with hollow niches shaped like vases and instruments, designed not for decoration, but for acoustics. Music played in these rooms would resonate through the walls. The Shah sat on the terrace and looked down at the square below, watching his empire move. If Isfahan is the mind of Persian architecture, Shiraz is its heart. This is the city of Hafiz and Saadi, 2 of the most celebrated poets in the Persian language. Men whose verses are still quoted in everyday conversation, still inscribed on the walls of tea houses and tombs. In Shiraz, beauty is not decoration, it is structure. Each morning, when the sun rises over the eastern hills and strikes the facade of the Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, something extraordinary happens. Light passes through thousands of pieces of stained glass and floods the prayer hall in waves of red, blue, violet and gold. The carpets become canvases, the columns glow. The room transforms into something closer to a painting than a building. The mosque was built in the late 19th century by a Qajar nobleman who understood that worship and wonder are not separate things. Every pane of glass was cut by hand, set into geometric frames that repeat across the facade in patterns that seem infinite. Nearby, the Vaikil Mosque offers a different kind of silence. 48 monolithic columns, each carved from a single piece of stone, rise in spiralling rows beneath a vaulted ceiling of painted tiles. There is no excess here. Every line serves a purpose. It is architecture as meditation. Isfahan required 12 centuries to reach its current form. The mirrors of Shiraz reflect eternity in a single second. Both are conversations with light. And both reveal something the West rarely sees, that Persianism did not suppress beauty. It pursued it with a devotion that borders on obsession. Behind high walls and unassuming doors, the courtyards open. In Kashan, the historical houses of Tabatabai and Boroujerdi reveal what domestic life looked like for Persia's merchant class. Reflecting pools that mirror the sky, stained glass that filters afternoon light into soft geometry, wind towers that cool the rooms without a single watt of electricity. This was not architecture for kings, it was architecture for families. And it was exquisite. In the Grand Bazaar of Isfahan, carpets hang from walls in stacks that reach the ceiling. Each one represents months of hand knotting, 300 knots per square inch in the finest examples. Nearby, Kashan's copperware gleams under low-hanging lamps, every pot and pitcher hammered by hand in a tradition passed down through centuries. And in Tehran's Tajrish Bazaar, the spices overflow their bowls, saffron and turmeric and dried rose petals in pyramids of colour. Copper vessels inlaid with turquoise line the shelves. The hands of Iran do not only build empires, they weave, they hammer, they grind, they polish. They keep the old trades alive simply by showing up each morning and beginning again. In the heart of Iran's central desert, where summer temperatures routinely exceed 40 degrees Celsius, stands one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. Yazd, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This city has been here for over 5,000 years, built almost entirely from sun-dried clay brick. Its skyline punctuated by structures that look like nothing else on the Iranian landscape wine catchers. These are the Badgers, towers that rise above the rooftops and catch even the faintest desert breeze. The design is over 3,000 years old. Hot air is drawn upward, cool air is pulled down through underground channels, sometimes passing over water cisterns buried beneath the streets. The result is a natural cooling system that requires no electricity, no fuel, no moving parts. Only geometry and wind. Walking through the old city is like stepping into an architecture of survival. Narrow alleyways block the sun, their walls angled to create shade at every hour. Arched passageways connect neighbourhoods like tunnels through the heat. Everything here was built with purpose, and the purpose was endurance. Even the pigeon towers speak to this ingenuity. Cylindrical structures dotted with thousands of nesting holes. Each tower could house up to 14,000 birds. The pigeons were not kept for food. Their droppings were collected as fertiliser and used in the tanning of leather. An entire agricultural system built on the habits of birds. But the most remarkable survival in Yazd is not architectural. It is spiritual. Inside the Zoroastrian fire temple, behind a pane of glass, a flame has burned continuously since approximately 470 AD. Over 1,500 years, Zoroastrianism, the religion of Cyrus the Great, of Darius, of the empire that built Persepolis, is not extinct. It is not a museum exhibit, it is alive. Tended daily by priests who add wood and recite prayers in a language that predates Islam, predates Christianity. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. The oldest ethical creed still practiced on Earth burns quietly in the desert, and the West has almost no idea it exists. On the outskirts of Yazd, a single cypress tree stands in a walled garden. The Sav-e-Abaku is estimated to be over 4,000 years old, one of the oldest living organisms on the planet. It was already ancient when Persepolis was built. It has outlived every dynasty. Like the flame, it simply continues. The Western lens sees Iran through politics. But step inside a mosque at dawn and the view changes entirely. A man raises his hands in prayer, the morning light falling through arched windows onto the carpet beneath him. There are no cameras here, no correspondence. Only the quiet rhythm of devotion that has filled these spaces for centuries. Once a year, that devotion becomes visible on a scale the world struggles to comprehend. The Arba'een pilgrimage, commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, draws over 20 million people on foot, making it the largest annual peaceful gathering on Earth. Seen from above, the night procession is a river of light surrounding golden domes. Strangers offer food and shelter to strangers where entire neighbourhoods transform into way stations for pilgrims they will never see again. The West sees a theocracy. The people of Iran see something else, a prayer before sunrise, bread shared on a roadside, a promise made to God and kept in silence. Faith here is not performed for an audience. It is lived. At the foot of the Alborz Mountains, sprawling across the plateau in every direction, Tehran hums with the energy of 9 million lives. It is not a beautiful city in the way that Isfahan is beautiful. There are no turquoise domes visible from the highway, no ancient columns catching the light. Tehran is concrete and traffic and noise, a capital that grew too fast for its own aesthetic. But it is real, and it is alive in ways that no postcard can capture. At its centre, the Azadi Tower rises like a question mark made of white marble. Built in 1971 to celebrate 2,500 years of the Persian Empire, its architecture fuses Sassanid arches with modernist geometry. Azadi means freedom. The monument was designed to contain the entire history of Iran in a single form. A bridge between the Achaemenid past and a future that, at the time, felt limitless. Whether the promise of that name has been kept is a question every generation of Iranians answers differently. But the tower still stands, and the traffic still circles it, and the sun still sets behind it every evening as though nothing has changed. Across the skyline, the Milad Tower rises 435 metres, the tallest structure in Iran. A telecommunications spire that signals Tehran's insistence on looking forward, even when the world looks at it and sees only the past. And yet, the past is never far. In the centre of the city, surrounded by traffic and office buildings, the Golestan Palace survives. Built by the Qajar dynasty in the 19th century, its walls still carry mosaics of horseback riders and garden scenes. The tilework as vivid as the day it was set. In Tehran, history does not disappear. It is simply built over, layer upon layer, the way it has always been in Iran. The Iranian flag catches the wind above the city, the Alborz Mountains rising behind it in a line of white peaks. Iran is not what the West imagines. It is not a desert. It is not a headline. It is not a threat. It is a civilization 2,500 years deep that has never stopped breathing. Persepolis still stands. The Zoroastrian flame still burns. Light still passes through the stained glass of Isfahan every morning. And Tehran still wakes beneath Damavand as it has for as long as anyone can remember. The empire did not fall. It changed shape. And perhaps that is exactly what the West never understood.